In this video, we are going to show you the summary of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. So let's start. Great Expectations is one of the greatest novels in English literature. Written by Charles Dickens, it is a coming-of-age story that follows the life of a poor orphan boy named Pip as he grows from childhood into adulthood. Through Pip's journey, the novel explores ambition, love, wealth, social class, guilt, forgiveness, and personal growth. The story shows that true gentility comes not from money or social status, but from kindness, honesty, and compassion. The story begins in the marshes of rural Kent, England, where a young orphan named Philip Pirrip, known simply as Pip, lives with his harsh older sister, Mrs. Joe Gargery, and her gentle husband, Joe Gargery, a village blacksmith. Joe is kind, patient, and loving, becoming the closest thing Pip has to a father. One cold Christmas Eve, while visiting the graves of his parents, Pip is suddenly confronted by a terrifying escaped convict named Abel Magwitch. The frightened prisoner threatens Pip and orders him to bring food and a file to remove his leg irons. Although Pip is terrified, he feels pity for the desperate man. The next morning, he secretly steals food from his home and the file from Joe's forge and delivers them to the convict. Soon afterward, soldiers arrive searching for escaped prisoners. Pip joins the search, and Magwitch is eventually captured after fighting another escaped convict. Before being taken away, Magwitch falsely claims that he stole the food and file himself, protecting Pip from punishment. Although Pip is relieved, he cannot forget the frightening encounter. As Pip grows older, he's invited to visit the mysterious Saddest house, the home of the wealthy and eccentric Miss Havisham. Once a beautiful young woman, Miss Havisham was abandoned by her fiancé on her wedding day many years earlier. Since that day, she has stopped all the clocks in her mansion and continues wearing her old wedding dress. The entire house remains frozen in time, reflecting her broken heart and lifelong bitterness. Living with Miss Havisham is her adopted daughter, Estella, an extraordinarily beautiful but cold-hearted girl. Miss Havisham has deliberately raised Estella to break men's hearts as revenge against the world that once hurt her. When Pip first meets Estella, she mocks his rough hands, coarse boots, and humble background. Pip is deeply embarrassed by his poverty and instantly falls in love with her. From that moment onward, he dreams of becoming a gentleman worthy of Estella's affection. Pip continues visiting Saddest house regularly. Although Estella often treats him with pride and cruelty, he remains devoted to her. Miss Havisham encourages Pip's feelings, enjoying the emotional pain they create because it fits her own desire for revenge against men. Meanwhile, Joe hopes Pip will become a blacksmith like himself. Pip begins learning the trade, but his heart is no longer in it. He dreams of a different life filled with education, wealth, and high society. One day, an unexpected visitor arrives. Mr. Jaggers, a famous London lawyer, announces that Pip has received a large fortune from an anonymous benefactor. The identity of the benefactor must remain secret. Pip is told that he will move to London, receive an excellent education, and live as a gentleman. Pip immediately believes that Miss Havisham is secretly financing him because she intends him to marry Estella. Filled with hope, he leaves Joe and his simple village life behind, convinced that his future has completely changed. In London, Pip lives with Herbert Pocket, a friendly and intelligent young man who becomes his closest friend. Herbert teaches Pip the manners and customs expected of a gentleman. Pip also spends time with Mr. Jaggers and his mysterious clerk Wemmick, whose cheerful personality contrasts greatly with Jaggers' cold professionalism. As Pip enjoys his new wealth, he gradually becomes ashamed of his humble origins. Although Joe continues to love him unconditionally, Pip feels embarrassed whenever Joe visits London. This growing pride causes Pip to neglect the people who truly cared for him throughout his childhood. Years pass, and Pip becomes increasingly accustomed to fashionable society. He spends money freely, accumulates debts, and continues loving Estella despite her repeated warnings that she has no heart and cannot return his affection. One stormy night, Pip receives an unexpected visitor. To his astonishment, the visitor is Abel Magwitch, the convict he helped as a child. Magwitch reveals an astonishing truth. He, not Miss Havisham, is Pip's secret benefactor. After being transported to Australia as a convict, Magwitch worked hard for many years and became wealthy. Grateful that Pip once showed him kindness, he secretly devoted his fortune to making Pip into a gentleman. His greatest dream has been to see Pip succeed. Pip is horrified. Everything he believed about his future is suddenly shattered. The gentleman he has become was financed not by an aristocratic lady, but by a former criminal. Worse still, Magwitch has illegally returned to England, where he faces execution if discovered. At first, Pip struggles to accept the truth. However, as he spends more time with Magwitch, he begins to see beyond his criminal past. He recognizes his generosity, loyalty, and fatherly affection. Pip gradually learns that true worth depends on character rather than social status. During this time, Pip discovers more hidden connections between the novel's characters. He learns that Magwitch is actually Estella's father. Years earlier, Magwitch had a relationship with Molly, who now works as Mr. Jaggers' housekeeper. After Molly's imprisonment, Miss Havisham adopted the young Estella without knowing the full truth of her parentage. Meanwhile, Estella marries the wealthy but cruel Bentley Drummle, despite Pip's love for her. The marriage is deeply unhappy. Estella suffers greatly under her husband's harsh treatment, finally experiencing the emotional pain she had once inflicted upon others. Miss Havisham eventually realizes the damage she has caused. She understands that raising Estella without love has destroyed many lives, including Pip's. Filled with guilt and regret, she asks Pip to forgive her. Pip sincerely forgives the lonely old woman. Soon afterward, tragedy strikes. While sitting near her fireplace, Miss Havisham's wedding dress accidentally catches fire. Pip desperately tries to save her, but she is badly burned and later dies from her injuries. Before her death, she continues expressing remorse for the suffering she caused. Knowing that Magwitch will be arrested if discovered, Pip and Herbert devise a plan to help him escape England by boat. However, their plan fails. The authorities capture Magwitch after a struggle on the river. During the confrontation, Magwitch is seriously injured. Magwitch is imprisoned and brought to trial. Since he is legally a convicted criminal, the government confiscates all his property, leaving Pip without the fortune he expected to inherit. As Magwitch lies dying in prison, Pip stays faithfully beside him. Before Magwitch dies, Pip gently tells him that his daughter Estella is alive and has grown into a beautiful woman. Although Magwitch never meets her again, the news brings him comfort in his final moments. Pip realizes that the man he once feared has become one of the people he loves most. Soon afterward, Pip falls seriously ill from exhaustion and emotional strain. To his surprise, Joe Gargery comes to London to care for him with complete kindness and forgiveness. Joe pays Pip's debts and nurses him to health without expecting anything in return. Pip is deeply ashamed of the way he neglected Joe over the years. After recovering, Pip returns to his village intending to propose marriage to Biddy, Joe's sensible and caring friend. However, he discovers that Joe and Biddy have just married each other. Instead of feeling jealous, Pip sincerely congratulates them and wishes them happiness. Determined to rebuild his life honestly, Pip joins Herbert in Egypt, where they work together in business. Through hard work and humility, Pip matures into a wiser and more responsible man. Many years later, Pip returns to England and visits the ruins of Satis House. There, he unexpectedly meets Estella. She has changed greatly after years of suffering and loss. No longer proud or cold, she speaks with kindness and humility. She admits that life's hardships have taught her compassion and understanding. Pip and Estella walk together through the quiet garden where they first met as children. The novel suggests that both have grown beyond the mistakes of their youth. Their shared experiences of love, disappointment, and forgiveness have transformed them into better people. Dickens leaves their future gently hopeful, allowing readers to imagine a peaceful life ahead. In the end, Great Expectations is a story of a young orphan who dreams of wealth and social success, but eventually learns that true greatness comes from love, loyalty, humility, and forgiveness. Through Pip's remarkable journey, Charles Dickens shows that money and status cannot bring lasting happiness, while kindness, honesty, and genuine human relationships are the greatest treasures anyone can possess. The novel remains one of the most beloved classics in English literature because of its unforgettable characters, emotional depth, and timeless lessons about growing into a better person.